West Virginia, a winner today, 38-31 against Iowa State. Welcome to Musings from the Mountains post-game edition. I'm Serre, joined by Keenan, Cummings. A lot of good for the Mountaineers today, a little bit of bad, but mostly good. Keenan, what did you see? What did you like?
Well, you're never going to complain beating a ranked team. This West Virginia team was 2-4 heading into the bye. A lot of people left them for dead. They're throwing dirt on this team, and here they sit 4-4 with 4 games left. I think today, what you take away is really West Virginia offensively. I thought that Jarret Doege played arguably his best game of the year, maybe his best game of his career. He had one really bad play, the telegraphed interception. Other than that, pretty flawless. Really moved the offense, looked really good. They were able to establish the run. This is a defense that, and we talked about this last week, Jared, they're very, very good. Statistically, one of the best in the Big 12. West Virginia was able to move the ball. That's the most points scored on them since 2018, most yards since 2019. So West Virginia did a really good job moving the football. They ended up this game with 490-some yards.
92. Okay.
Yeah, 492 yards on Iowa State, and did an excellent job moving the football defensively. There were a couple busts at times, led to a lot of their big plays. Of course, there was the pick six, but you look at the rest of the game, and it's actually a little bit misleading when you look at the final stats. This defense played a lot better than the numbers would show, and really West Virginia's had 3 chances this year to get off the field defensively to win a football game, and the fourth time was the charm. They did it today. They were able to get off the field. The final play of the game went incomplete, and West Virginia picked up a massive win at home over Iowa State.
Yeah, among those 492 offensive yards, something that really stuck out to me, 2 wide receivers, each with more than 100 yards receiving, 100 or more. I think it was Bryce Ford-Wheaton with 109 and Winston Wright with 100. For a team that, I don't want to say has struggled to find weapons, I guess for a wide receiving core that has, been basically by committee, you don't really have that guy, to go out there and at least tonight have 2 guys that say, hey, I could be that number 1 guy. We know what the Mountaineers will get from Winston, right? Bryce Ford-Wheaton's a little more hit and miss every week. But they were sharp today. They were sharp. Doege was sharp. Offensive line was a big contributor to that. Looked a lot, improved last week compared to what we saw from before the bye week. But at least offensively, this was probably the most complete game West Virginia's played all year.
Yeah, and going back to Ford-Wheaton, he made some of those catches that Neil Brown's talked about for the last 2 years. Talked about maybe developing into that guy, going up and getting the football. And he was a deep threat in this game, and he made some very challenging, contested catches. Yeah, he had the one drop that was an interception. He had the egregious offensive pass interference penalty. Might have been the worst call that I've seen in recent memory.
Brutal.
But other than that, played very, very well. That is the guy that Neil Brown thought he would become. And if he can continue to play like that, Winston Wright's been pretty consistent all year. If he can continue to play like that, and really we're not even talking about him, but Isaiah Isdale made some really big catches in this game too. Moved the chains. You think he had 6 for 63. And you mentioned the offensive line. Yeah, they played great in this game. They ran the football, ran for over 100 yards, and Doege dropped back, I think, 50 times in this game to throw the ball. He wasn't sacked once. That's a major shift. When you're able to give him time, I had a stat after last week's game. He's 83% of his yards have come when you keep him clean in the pocket, and when you keep him clean in the pocket, good things tend to happen for this offense.
Yeah, it hit the nail on the head 100%. This West Virginia team, strong. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, I feel like we can't say enough about him. I don't want to say this game was very unlike him, but Bryce Ford-Wheaton, I don't want to say this performance was unlike him, but we've never really seen him put it all together and come out and have 100 receiving yards. Even something that really stuck out to me, there was a play in the second half, a reception back of the end zone, a little bit of an overthrow by Doege. Ford-Wheaton responded, adjusted well, came down with it.
It was a fantastic catch.
It was fantastic. And I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I guess just the point is, this offense today.
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, even 2 weeks in a row. Today broke a lot of, season records this year. I don't think Daigie's thrown for more yards in a game. I don't think the offense as a whole has had more yards in a game.
Well, they finally hit 30 points, Jared. They
Yeah,
finally hit
that's
30
true.
points.
And
Everyone thought they'd do it against Iowa State. That's the game.
Yeah, number 22 ranked Iowa State.
Yeah, that's the game that everyone had pegged. But, I think that West Virginia executed their plan perfectly. They were able to control the football for the second week in a row, had 15 more plays, had almost 9 minutes in time of possession. And that's what West Virginia wants to do. They were able to methodically move the ball, hit some chunk plays when they had it. If you come into this game and said Iowa State was going to have 2 passes over 15-plus yards and West Virginia was going to have 7, would you have bought stock in that? I probably wouldn't have. And that speaks to how efficient this offense was. And defensively, yeah, there were a few mistakes, but for the most part, really kept a good offense in check.
Yeah, speaking of defensively, obviously one of the main concerns when you have a back-and-forth game like this is, matching one another. West Virginia did have 492 offensive yards, but Iowa State also did have 400 yards at least. Regardless, though, strong defensive performance. Keenan, your thoughts?
I think you've got to give a lot of credit to what West Virginia's been doing up front. They played some even front in this game, really tried to really kind of, big boy a little bit with Iowa State, and that's been one of the talking points, before the week, especially after the game. Neil talked about it in postgame. That 42-6 embarrassment last year really motivated them this offseason. You could tell West Virginia came out with a fire in this game. They wanted this game, and they hit Iowa State in the mouth. That's been the key the last 3 times these teams have played. Iowa State's beat West Virginia up physically. They've done it. They started with Will Grier. It's continued the last 3 years. That wasn't the case today. West Virginia hit back, and Iowa State didn't like it too much. I think that, when you're trying to turn the corner, you're trying to build a program, wins like this can really resonate and really have a place in really kind of building things up from the ground up. If you want to be one of those teams that Neil Brown's talked about being and that upper echelon of this league, you got to find a way to win games like this, especially physical football games. And I think the most encouraging thing to me is 2 weeks in a row, this team's come out, they've got hit in the mouth early, they've fallen behind early, and they've shown resiliency, which has been a question mark, a talking point. You can talk about it till you're blue in the face. Brown talked about this Tuesday. It doesn't matter unless you show it. And 2 weeks in a row, they've showed the ability to bounce back and not only win tough football games, but really win them in style.
Yeah, Josh Chandler-Smito really kind of spoke on that. I believe it was a 68-yard passing touchdown, Brock Purdy. But Chandler-Smito, he was in pursuit. Purdy juked him out, essentially, and was the reason the touchdown happened. But he said, hey, next play, got to shake it off. Kind of same thing, I guess you could say, with toward the end of the game. Questionable play calling, perhaps, on offense. Defense steps up, says, hey, it's in our hands now. We got to take care of it. Dante Stills forces the fumble, backs Iowa State up, and ultimately causes West Virginia to win the game. Something important. You got something?
Yeah, I want to know what the hell does Brock Purdy put on himself, man? That's the most elusive, slippery guy. It's got to be baby oil or something. They had him dead to rights a bunch in this game, and credit to him. He didn't do a lot as a passer today, but he really impressed me with his ability to extend plays and make some stuff happen, make some guys miss. Because West Virginia got 2 sacks, and they could have had at least 5 or 6, and that's credit to what he was able to do. But big win for West Virginia. It's a really – I hate to say it at this point in the season because, there a lot could still change in 4 games, but that's the kind of program shifting win that you have to get after you drop a game at home like Texas Tech. You had to still, quote unquote, still one of these. You're not favored to win, and West Virginia's done it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, big win for West Virginia, but also somewhat, depending on the way you look at it, a big loss. Charles Woods left with an injury. Neither Keenan or I saw him back on the field. What is that loss like for this thin secondary? And, what are you feeling about these guys, these Aubrey Burks, Davis Mallinger, that are in the wings behind him?
Yeah, we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. I'm not sure, how serious it was or anything to that degree. But
here's hoping he'll be back this.
Yeah, they're going to need him. And West Virginia getting this win now, it hasn't been released yet, but by the time this podcast comes out, we'll probably have the timing. But we might be looking at the first night game under Neil Brown, a true night game. So it'll be interesting to see this week coming up with West Virginia. This team has a lot of momentum right now. You can tell by talking to the players, the way they're carrying themselves, the coaches, has a lot of confidence too. And confidence and momentum are a ball that's hard to stop once it starts rolling. With a lot of football left, a lot of good teams left for West Virginia. I'm going to reiterate this again. West Virginia could win every single one of these games. I've been saying this since the bye. Or they could lose every single one of these games. So you never know which team's going to show up. But I do think for the first time this season, I know you believe it, Jared, I believe it, you're starting to see some consistency out of this team. You're starting to see an identity. I've questioned the identity. What does this team want to be offensively? I think you're starting to see that now, and the seeds are being laid. And 2 weeks in a row, it's been a really good offensive plan and really well executed, and West Virginia's won both games.
Anything else you want to add before we take it home?
Blue Lot's going to be a lot more fun to be on the next couple of days. Right? Yes, it's been quite the season. This is a monumental win for West Virginia, not just in the sense of beating a ranked team, or beating a team that was favored, but just like I said, kind of changing the trajectory. That bye week was crucial for West Virginia. They've come out like a different football team, and at 2-4, a lot of people gave up on this team. A lot of people gave up on the direction of this program, and really the only people that didn't, or the only people that truly didn't, were the people in the football building, and that's what matters. So we'll see how the rest of the season goes. There's a lot of football left, but for the first time since probably the last second ticked off in that Virginia Tech game, there's a lot of optimism moving forward. Again,
West Virginia a winner tonight or this afternoon, however you want to look at it. It's dark out here now.
Dark now.
West Virginia a winner against number 22 Iowa State. As always, read about it on the Blue Lot. Keenan and I, once I get this online, we're going to have some stories we're running. All the coverage you'll need there, WVSports.com. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, like us on YouTube, or subscribe to us on YouTube. There we go. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you listen. I guess that's about it. Thank you guys for listening to Musings from the Mountains. Live to tape from the tunnel of the Milan Puskar Stadium, and we'll be back soon.